Minkah Fitzpatrick said this after the game, which is huge. He was talking to ESPN's Brooke Pryor. He said, quote, "I think too many people don't want to tool for it. They just want to walk out here and think that they're going to make plays and think that they're going to perform at a high level. I think we need to have more people who want to work for it, not expect it to be handed to them. This is the NFL. Nothing's handed to you. You got to earn everything. I think that dudes just think that because they're wearing the black and gold, that they're going to win games. And I think we need to check that mentality and make people realize that they got to earn that mentality." That's what he says after the game. Clear as day. People are pissed off. Cam Hayward says that if people aren't executing, himself included, and both these guys are very media savvy, there needs to be changes made because they need guys out there that are looking to win and looking to execute. I think that all ties into one big thing here, and it's the same thing we've been talking about for weeks now. The Pittsburgh Steelers just don't seem to be a team that is prepared, that is locked in, and that is motivated to get better and overcome the hump and win. Lose to Arizona, lose to New England. You look at this, you look at Minkah's comments. What are your thoughts on those? Is it time to start talking about, is Mike Tomlin the problem?
Yeah, I'm willing to take pretty seriously the guy who is playing with a broken hand, quite honestly with you.
I agree.
Like, we were standing there listening to him. He's got a cast over his hand, and he just played what I thought was a pretty good game overall. Yeah. And I take that guy seriously. That seems like a guy who's invested. And you know, that's before even knowing, you know, even thinking about who Minkah is and what we already knew about him. Look, like, I think we're going to have this conversation about Mike Tomlin. We're going to say a lot of things that are pretty negative about him. I still think in my heart of hearts that he's like a decent coach. That, you know, if he left the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, he'd walk to Los Angeles to coach the Chargers and they'd be in the AFC Championship game. But, man, this is stale. Like, this is stale. This is the same stuff over and over again. It is, you know, and it's through a bunch of changes too. It's you know, ever since Ben went down, I mean, even before that, it's been defense leading the team. It's been, you know, a lot of penalties and undisciplined things holding the Steelers back on offense. It's, and you look at the kind of, you take a smaller, more narrow view, you look at the past 2 years, and it's just, it is the same movie over and over again, except it's getting a lot worse. You know, it's getting uglier. It's getting, you know, the things that are repeatable mistakes, the things that we see over and over again are just becoming more and more glaring. You know, you wrote about it today, but it's just like the unprepared stuff, you know, like that. I think we can both kind of agree that this is not a perfect roster, but there is more talent than what they are. They're not playing up to their level of talent. And that's an indictment. That's always an indictment on coaching. Like that's the only like thing you can come back to, is that this is a decently talented roster and they are underperforming in every way under the leadership of a guy that we are told that we expect to kind of make the most of things, to make the most of imperfect rosters. And that's not what he's doing right now. And at that point, I think it's fair to have that conversation, especially after these two losses in particular. It's something you got to start talking about, is whether Mike Tomlin is part of the problem, or because he certainly isn't being part of the solution right now.
I agree. I think it does. This conversation, I agree wholeheartedly, has to start with the fact that I also believe Mike Tomlin is a Hall of Fame coach, that he's one of the best coaches in the NFL, that if he goes somewhere else in the right situation, that team is one of the best in the league. And maybe all it takes is for Art Rooney and Omar Khan to take power away from him and say, you no longer get to hire coaches and you no longer get to control any part of this team. This is not your doing anymore. We will hire offensive coordinators. We will hire defensive coordinators. We will hire position coaches. You no longer get to touch any of it. And maybe that's what he needs, because I look at Mike Tomlin and I look at the problem right now, and I think it's clear as day. Mike Tomlin is a guy that you will run through a brick wall for. And I think everybody who's ever watched a Pittsburgh Steelers game or watched a Pittsburgh Steelers speech or just listen to Mike Tomlin talk for 10 seconds understands that everybody in that locker room would run through a brick wall for that guy. Zero questions asked. He is the ultimate motivator. That is what he specializes in. That is how he's become such a great coach. And maybe, just maybe, the NFL caught up with him. But maybe, just maybe, the Pittsburgh Steelers roster is not built for him. And that could be the problem, is that Mike Tomlin is a motivator, but he is not a genius when it comes to schematically creating a team or building a game plan that will defeat everybody. He's not Mike McDaniels. He's not Sean McVay. He's not Kyle Shanahan. He's Mike Tomlin. He's a totally different style of coach. And it just feels like when Minka talking about this and Deontay talking about last week, how they overlooked the Cardinals and all this stuff, like all the issues that have happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers this season and last season, it just feels like he doesn't have control of the locker room just because his guys aren't being motivated the way that they typically would. If it was a bunch of TJ Watts and Cam Haywards and Minka Fitzpatricks and, probably Kenny Pickett's, I'm sure that the Pittsburgh Steelers would be phenomenal. And at one point, that's who Mike Tomlin's team was. But today, you're dealing with George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, who clearly these guys are just looking for touchdowns and receptions. And that's part of the NFL today. That's what these guys are interested in. But you got a bunch of these guys. And if you cannot come up with a game plan to utilize their talents, you're not doing anything by trying to motivate them. It's just not working. And if that's who the Pittsburgh Steelers are trying to be, if they're just trying to be a team loaded with talent who isn't looking, I mean, we heard all offseason. Omar Khan's talked to us a dozen times, and every single time he's talked to us, and you ask him, why did you acquire this guy? Why did you acquire this guy? The answer is always the same. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's got a Pittsburgh Steeler mentality. We're looking for a Pittsburgh Steelers type player. I don't think they were. Like, I genuinely don't know what they were looking for, but that is by far a Pittsburgh Steelers type player because, yeah, they're damn good at football, but they're not motivated in the way that Mike Tomlin directs his team and wins and utilizes his coaching style. And again, I think you put him on in a team, in an organization where all those guys are just that. They're just, you fire me up, I'm going to go win some football games. Mike Tomlin's a Super Bowl winning coach again. But in Pittsburgh, that's not this team. And I mean, it's clear as day. Like we've used the word diva and, issues and selfish like a billion times this season. And that's who the Pittsburgh Steelers have. And you could win with those guys. Mike Tomlin cannot win with those guys. And I think at this point, that is enough to acknowledge that he's just, I don't want to say he's the problem. I want to say that he is right now not the right coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some weird mind voodoo from your crazy neighbor, like shouting up to the stars and yelling, "Help!" We're talking about our sponsor, Fume, and they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong. So instead of drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all-natural, delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. That's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. It fills the void in a natural, guilt-free way. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing while breaking your habit. I got this thing, and the first thing I noticed was how sharp it looks. This is probably the sharpest looking device I own. And then immediately I start fidgeting with it and realize how awesome that aspect of it is. And then when it comes to the taste, I mean, you can't beat the cool, crisp mint flavor. It's easily my favorite, and I haven't put this thing down since I discovered it. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup with destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/allsteelerstalk or scan the QR code and use code allsteelerstalk to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. The Fume Solano launched last November and you can upgrade your journey pack to the Solano to enjoy the premium walnut barrel and onyx black coated mouthpiece that has a smoother finish and still get 10% off. That's tryfum.com and use our code AllSteelersTalk to save an additional 10% off your order today.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest point, is that it's not, doesn't say anything about Mike Tomlin necessarily to say that this has just kind of run its course. I think you can acknowledge that he did a lot of great things here. He's been a good coach for this team in the past, but the results are the results. You are only as good as your last performance, and his last performance, the performance before that, most of the performances over the past 2 years have just not been good enough. And I think it's okay to say that this has maybe run its course, that it's stale, that it's just not working anymore. This kind of stuff happens to great coaches all the time. And, I brought up the fact that he could move on and go coach another team to a Super Bowl. And like, you've seen that happen before. And like, you've seen both sides, kind of divorce from a long-time coaching situation with someone who's generally agreed upon to be a good coach, and both sides come out better for it. Like, it happened in Philly with like Andy Reid and them. Like Don Shula got canned, didn't he? Like, all-time leader in wins. Like, it might happen to Bill Belichick this year. Like, it happens, and it doesn't. It just, you can choose how you approach it. Like, you can let it go out and die in flames and just wait for the whole thing to burn down, or you can kind of get ahead of it and you can say, look, we just need something different right now. Doesn't say anything about you, but like, and we're going to let you kind of go out with grace, but you're just not, like you said, you're not right for right now. And that's not an indictment of anyone's coaching abilities. It's just an indictment of the situation.
Do you think that I asked this a week ago, you said no, and I have a feeling that your answer is the same, but do you think there's any possibility that the Steelers front office is sitting around having some of the same thoughts that we are? Not saying that it's time to go, but starting to have some of those same thoughts.
Oh, definitely. I don't think you can. Even the most adamant, like, it's actually funny. Like, I rode down to Morgantown for the backyard brawl with Chris Carter and Noah Hiles, and half of our drive down was about, I made a joke about, like, oh man, like, what if the Patriots win tomorrow night? Like, that's gonna be pretty tough for the Steelers. That's like, how crazy would that be? But it just launched, like, we all had a conversation about, like, okay, what would it take for Mike Tomlin to go, for you to be done with? And Chris Carter very adamantly was like, no, Mike Tomlin can turn this around. Like, he's the guy for it. And then he texted me, after I think the second Bailey Zappi touchdown, and he was like, okay, if they get blown out by the Patriots, then maybe we can start that. Like,
maybe it's time to go.
Yeah, that was the turn I saw last night, was that, there were even the most ardent of Mike Tomlin defenders started to turn. They started to think, okay, maybe, like, they started to kind of, I think, get to that point that everyone else had been at, which is that this is just not working, and that this is just not right for right now, which I think is notable, because I don't think anyone, no matter how much you love Mike Tomlin, can look at that game and think that he doesn't share. He doesn't have to take the vast majority of the blame for how that game unfolded.
I agree. I think for the first time, like, you asked me a week ago, and I explained, like, the 3-year theory, and I've been informed that it's actually 2 years. I think that bumps up. I don't think the Steelers would ever, straight up fire somebody. I think it would be a mutual agreement that things have run their course and that Mike Tomlin's time in Pittsburgh is over. But I agree. Last night you watched a lot of people who are Mike Tomlin defenders turn into, at bare minimum, I just don't know anymore. Like, I don't know what to expect. And it has to be made very clear. The Pittsburgh Steelers, if they switch coaches, there's probably 60-40 that next coach sucks and that things just burn to the ground and become way worse than they are. And if that's a risk that you're willing to take, you got to make the move, and it works in the better a lot of the time. But you also have to have the understanding that there is a very significant chance that the next coach is terrible. And I think that's what it comes down to for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think any of it anymore is, oh, Mike Tomlin's the best coach that we could possibly have. He's the greatest coach of all time. I think that's honestly out the door. I think that they, just like you said, they have to start. People are starting to realize maybe things have run their course. I think the only thing that would hold them back is them sitting around going, well, do we want to waste the next 3 years looking for a head coach, or do we just, figure this out? Because I don't know what the stats are, but I would imagine if it's not 0, it might be 1 or 2 head coaches have come in and won a Super Bowl in their first year as a head coach of a football team. It's just not like you're going to go through your struggles. You're going to go through an entire change. That is the biggest change you can make. I don't know if the Steelers are interested in that. If they are, well, I think that they are having those thoughts that maybe it is time to make the change.